Oh, hi! I'm Izzy, and today I'm going to read you the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a beautiful queen who longed for a child. One winter's day, as she sat sewing by her window, she pricked her finger with her needle, and 3 drops of blood fell onto the snow on the windowsill. As she gazed at the bright red blood against the white snow, she wished for a child with skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. Not long after, the queen's wish came true, and she gave birth to a daughter who had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. They named her Snow White. Sadly, the queen died soon after giving birth, and the king remarried a beautiful but vain and wicked woman who was deeply envious of Snow White's beauty. The new queen possessed a magical mirror, which she would consult every day, asking, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" The mirror always replied, "You, my queen, are the fairest of them all." And the queen was content. However, as Snow White grew older, her beauty surpassed that of the queen. One day, when the queen asked her mirror the same question, it replied, "You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but Snow White is even fairer than you." Enraged and consumed by jealousy, the queen ordered a huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and kill her. As proof of her death, the queen demanded that he bring back Snow White's heart. The huntsman, however, could not bring himself to harm the innocent girl. He let her go, telling her to run far away and never return. He then killed a wild boar and took its heart to the queen, pretending it was Snow White's. Alone and frightened, Snow White wandered through the forest until she came upon a small cottage. Curious, she went inside and found it to be the home of 7 dwarfs. The cottage was tiny, with 7 little beds, 7 little chairs, and 7 little bowls. Exhausted, Snow White lay down on one of the beds and fell asleep. When the dwarfs returned home that evening, they were surprised to find Snow White asleep in their cottage. They listened to her story and, feeling sorry for her, invited her to stay with them. In return, Snow White promised to keep the house tidy and cook for them. Meanwhile, the queen consulted her mirror again, only to hear, "You, my queen, are fair, it is true, but Snow White, beyond the mountains with the 7 dwarfs, is still 1,000 times fairer than you." Furious, the queen disguised herself as an old peddler woman and set off to find Snow White. She arrived at the dwarf's cottage and offered Snow White a poisoned apple. The moment Snow White took a bite, she fell into a deep, deathlike sleep. When the dwarfs returned home, they found Snow White unconscious and mourned her loss. They placed her in a glass coffin and kept vigil by her side. Time passed, and one day a prince traveling through the forest saw Snow White in her glass coffin and was struck by her beauty. He begged the dwarfs to let him take the coffin, and they reluctantly agreed. As the prince's servants carried the coffin away, they stumbled, dislodging the piece of poisoned apple from Snow White's throat. She awoke, to everyone's astonishment. The prince and Snow White soon fell in love and were married. The wicked queen, upon learning from her mirror that Snow White was still alive and now a queen, was consumed by rage. She attended the wedding only to be recognized and punished for her evil deeds. Snow White and the prince lived happily ever after, and their love and kindness were celebrated throughout the kingdom. The end. And that was the story of Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. With me, Izzy. Hey, can you spell my name with me? I-Z-Z-Y. Izzy. Good job. And And if you would like to hear me read more stories, then please don't forget to like and subscribe here. See you next time on Izzy Reads. Bye!